hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Diana Palmerin Velasco. I am the Senior Director of Future of Work with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, and I am delighted to be your moderator today for our first ever Inclusive Growth Awards. Before we begin today's event, I would like to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Indigenous peoples of the Treaty 7 territory. This includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, which is comprised of the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nations, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda, which includes the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. I also recognize that the city of Calgary is home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. We give thanks to the generations of people who have been stewards of this land and recognize our shared responsibility to honor and care for it in the spirit of reconciliation. At the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, we believe that diversity, equity, and inclusion are central and essential to fairness of opportunity, competitiveness of business, economic growth, and our nation's prosperity. As mentioned before, these are our first ever Inclusive Growth Awards. We launched these awards in May, and these awards aim to recognize chambers of commerce, boards of trade, and their business members across the country that are doing exceptional work to remove barriers and create a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive economy. These awards also recognize Indigenous and other underrepresented entrepreneurs who have demonstrated excellence in innovation and social impact. I would like to invite to a stage George Wamala. George is no doubt a familiar face, as he has attended our AGM and convention for many years in his role as Director, Regulatory and Government Affairs at RBC. But George's role here today is broader. Today, he's also representing the Canadian Chamber's Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Council. He has been the co-chair of this council for the past 2 years, and I am very excited to have him here. So welcome, George.
Well, thank you, Deanna. Good afternoon, fellow delegates, honored guests, and most of all, award recipients. It's a pleasure to be here in my role as a sponsor of the Inclusive Growth Awards, but also as a council member. It makes me incredibly proud to see these awards that were only notes on a page last fall come to reality today, and that we're recognizing some of the amazing work being done across the Chamber network to advance diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. It's my hope that many of the winners will find themselves imitated by others in the years to come, and that many more programs will be nominated for next year's awards. Your work as early adopters of DEI strategies and programs is important for so many reasons. It's important that the business community takes the lead and demonstrates that change is possible. As a global organization, RBC recognizes both our opportunity and responsibility to take action, drive change, and create a more inclusive workplace and society. Our policies, programs, and actions create specific and measurable value for colleagues, clients, and communities. As you all know, the last several years have been marked by global social movements that have put D&I issues at the forefront. Over that time, RBC's D&I strategy has served us well, delivering demonstrable results in meaningfully increasing the representation of women and BIPOC executives, enabling an environment where RBCers feel free and safe to speak up, and being recognized as a leader in shaping the DEI landscape. Expectations of how corporations respond to D&I continue to shift due to social movements, employee sentiment, regulatory requirements, and shareholder, investor, and client expectations. New risks and opportunities are emerging, driving a need to evolve our D&I strategy to the following 3 pillars through our Diversity and Inclusion Roadmap 2025. These are advancing diversity, strengthening inclusion, and enabling economic inclusion. And with that said, I'd like to invite Deanna back to the stage to begin our exciting program of recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, George, for your continued leadership of our council, and thank you to RBC for its sponsorship of these awards and for its generous support to the Canadian Chamber. Now, to get to the exciting part of today's event, the awards themselves. First up, we are presenting our Corporate Member Inclusive Growth Award. I should say that to be accepted into the overall process, all companies had to be members of the Canadian Chamber Network. In the application, nominees were asked to explain initiatives that have been undertaken to advance economic reconciliation or increase diversity, equity, inclusion, or accessibility in their business operations. They were asked to clearly define how the business has successfully implemented the initiative and demonstrated meaningful success and achievement of the objectives set when the initiative was launched. I am pleased to welcome to the stage the Canadian Chamber of Commerce's Chief Operating Officer, Gayla Brock-Woodland. Gayla is one of the champions within the Chamber who have made these awards come alive. Thank you.
You'll be happy to know I'm still rocking my Lauren Bacall voice today, so hope I can be heard. I'm just so happy to be here to present these awards. Our team was really pleased. When you start something new, you want to make sure it is successful. So our team was really pleased with the number of submissions for our first ever Inclusive Growth Awards program. The Chamber's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility program has been near and dear to my heart since my arrival at the Chamber. One of the things we do at the Chamber is ask ourselves, what can be our unique contribution? And I wouldn't say ever that we're experts in DEI. And I remember, years ago, I had many clients, and this was back, I'm now dating myself, in 2004, almost 20 years ago, who started on this journey. And we all need to remember it's a journey. Deanna reminds me of this all the time. And so I think one of the things we can do, while we're not experts, we're great at connecting, and we're great at sharing best practices. And my favorite word, encouraging people, because it takes a lot of encouragement, because it is a journey, as Deanna always reminds me. So we've done a lot, I think, in the DEI space, and thanks to Deanna, who's been a great champion, and Ian, who's doing a lot of, the two of them together are doing a lot of work across the country. And our intent is to do even more. It's important that we advocate for an economy that works for all Canadians, and particularly for unrepresented segments of the population who continue to experience barriers to full participation. But as Perrin always says, purely and simply, it's the right thing to do. And that's why we need to be champions. We know our Canadian Chamber Network is doing great work. And so it's a pleasure to be able to acknowledge all of your achievements and all of our award recipients. Our first category, as Deanna said, is for members of the Canadian Chamber Network. Prior to today's event, we went out to the award recipients and we gathered insight that will help you understand why they are going to be receiving the award. So let's play the first video representing DEIA champions from Pfizer Canada.
At Pfizer, we are committed to growing awareness of diversity, equity, and inclusion by building a workplace that reflects the patients and communities we serve, and where everyone feels heard, seen, and empowered to express their full, authentic selves at work.
Together, we are building a culture that embraces diverse perspectives and instills mutual respect amongst colleagues.
nous avons lancé divers groupes de ressources de collègues qui offrent du soutien, des ressources et un sentiment d'appartenance à différents groupes qui sont sous-représentés.
Dans notre secteur d'activité des sciences de la vie, nous nous efforçons également d'être un chef de file en matière d'équité en intégrant cette valeur au quotidien dans tous les aspects de notre travail.
One example is Pfizer's Refugee Leadership Initiative, which is focused on providing support for newcomers in Canada by matching refugee mentees with mentors from our organization.
We are proud to have participated in the Government of Canada's 50-30 Challenge with Canadian business and diversity organizations, and we have achieved gender parity within the Canadian organization.
Diversity is just as crucial to building a successful business as it is to building a vibrant culture. We realize that means not just attracting the best and brightest talent, but also ensuring that our colleagues can thrive in an environment where we champion diversity, equity, and inclusion every single day all around the world.
So please join me in welcoming Pfizer Canada. Joining me on stage are Stephen Hoke. He's Director, Global Policy and Public Affairs, a member of DEI COP at Pfizer, and Arshia Ghani. Did I get it right? Good. Associate Director, Regulatory Sciences, DEI COP lead at Pfizer Canada. Pfizer Canada is a member of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, and I just found out that Stephen was actually Daniel's instructor in university, so 2 degrees of separation. Please come to the stage. Yeah. Yeah. Our second award recipient is We BC. Please play the video.
So the Enhancing the Mosaic of Women Entrepreneurs was a 4-year project that WeBC out of British Columbia had. It was funded by the Canadian government under the Women's Entrepreneurship Strategy. And it was to improve access to underrepresented groups of women to our programs through advisory, through mentorship. And so to be able to serve more rural women within British Columbia, as well as Indigenous and newcomers as well. The targets completely exceeded all expectations. You know, we had a goal of serving almost 2,700 women, and it ended up being over 16,000 women. And so the project started before COVID, the pandemic, but really kind of delivered it right through the pandemic years. And so it really was where women needed the most support. And really the legacy of the project was our regional ambassadors that now post this project. We have regional ambassadors that are on the ground with strong connections to our partners and our clients throughout the region. And it really also speaks volumes because it was about serving underrepresented groups in rural communities. When we say 16,000 women were served, it was in communities that some of these communities aren't even 16,000 people. So it meant that the reach, you know, WeBC is in 193 communities throughout British Columbia. And although the urban centers are obviously key and where much of the population is housed, reaching rural communities with the services to enable women to start and grow businesses, to make sure they get the support, and especially in demographics, intersectional demographics, in BIPOC communities, Indigenous communities, newcomer communities. These were all areas that those targets being exceeding our expectations really made us realize that there was a lot of work to be done throughout our province. there's still more work to be done, I think, is the message really that we got. Continued collaboration with our partners that we started the relationships with throughout the province. Recognizing also that intersectionality and the different barriers women face, especially within our diverse business owners, that's something that we want to make sure that we continue to bring forward in how we design programs, in the partners that we connect with, to make sure that we're serving the different demographics, not just generally women entrepreneurs, but within those intersections. And then making sure that we're fostering the growth potential in women entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses throughout BC. So. It's such an honor, thank you to the Canadian Chamber for recognizing really the hard work of our team. We're very, very proud of this project, especially through some of the hardest years that most people faced through the pandemic. And it also to us symbolizes that we only really, grow if we grow together. And so it became actually for us, one of our mantras for the year is we grow together. And it was through this project that we realized that we are so much stronger together, that in order for us to grow as both a province, but as a nation, we need to make sure we're supporting everyone. And that includes all the intersectional demographics, the rural communities, because all of us grow stronger as a nation and stronger economically when we grow together.
Joining me on stage for our next award is Shauna, who you just heard from, Shauna Harper, CEO of WeBC. WeBC is a member of several chambers of commerce in BC, including the Kelowna, Prince George, and Greater Victoria Chambers of Commerce. So let's play our third video for our third award winner, which is Miller Thompson LLP.
Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Ovanen, and I'm the chair of Miller Thompson. Miller Thompson is a national business law firm with about 525 lawyers practicing across the country. Miller Thompson's a modern, forward-thinking, enterprising, and inclusive firm. I'd like to congratulate the Canadian Chamber of Commerce on its Inclusive Growth Awards and to all of the recipients. Miller Thompson is honored to receive this award in recognition of our work in inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. We refer to it as IDEA. Miller Thompson's leadership team has prioritized IDEA as an important part of the firm's vision, values, and strategic plan. Our goal is to align our business, people, and our IDEA strategies. Once again, congratulations to the Chamber and to all of the recipients. Thank you.
Nous sommes fiers de proposer un environnement diversifié comptant des avocats et des membres des services professionnels d'origine variée. En tant que cabinet, nous nous engageons à favoriser un milieu de travail qui intègre, appuie, respecte et valorise les différences et prône la diversité. Je m'appelle Pascale Cloutier et je suis l'avocate générale de Miller Thompson. Je suis membre du Comité national de l'inclusion et de la diversité, dont le rôle consultatif permet de soutenir le directeur national de l'équité, de la diversité et de l'inclusion, ainsi que l'équipe de direction. Notre objectif est d'assurer que l'ensemble de nos initiatives en matière d'inclusion, de diversité, d'équité et d'accessibilité visent à sensibiliser et à encourager un dialogue constant. Nous cherchons ainsi à transformer les bonnes intentions en actions concrètes.
My name is Stuart Whittingham, and I'm the firm's Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Our IDEA strategic plan focuses on our people, our business, our clients, and our communities. We are focused on inclusive leadership and practices, communication and transparency, measurement and accountability, and promoting inclusivity and belonging. By increasing our firm members' knowledge of IDEA best practices, aligning IDEA across all legal and business services teams, and providing a forum for diversity of thought and engagement, the firm is better enabled to serve our clients creatively, to reflect our clients' workforces and values, as well as the communities in which our firm members live and work. We thank the Canadian Chamber of Commerce for recognizing our work in the IDEA space, and we acknowledge that our IDEA journey continues. With intentional actions, we will continue to achieve our goal of strengthening our workplace of belonging, moving forward together. Thank you.
Please welcome Stuart Whittingham, Director, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at Miller Thompson LLP. And Miller is a member of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Gayla, for introducing our first category of award recipients. Now, here to introduce our second category is Senior Vice President, Chamber Network Relations and Advocacy, Ian Faris.
Thanks, Deanna, and good afternoon, delegates. In my work with the Canadian Chamber Network, all the chambers and boards of trade across Canada, we've really come to see the great work that's being done in this area, and we've further been able to identify a number of really great initiatives, great things that are happening through our inclusive growth dialogue that we're doing as a 3-level chamber collaborative effort with local chambers across the country, and Gayla had mentioned it a little bit earlier. Through this work, we're really able to identify those insights and share knowledge. And we're going to be sharing that knowledge with you over the next few weeks. But I'm pleased to be able to present the next award category for the Inclusive Growth Awards, which are being presented to chambers of commerce and boards of trade that demonstrated that they've implemented successful initiatives to advance economic reconciliation or increase diversity, equity, inclusion, or accessibility in their organizational practices. So let's take a look at what's being done in the network. Our first award recipient in this category is the Newmarket Chamber of Commerce. So let's watch their video.
We really recognize at the Newmarket Chamber of Commerce, through COVID especially, how certain groups had been impacted disproportionately. And so the board and our staff set clear goals on making sure that we were doing more around diversity, equity, and inclusion, but also belonging. And that really started a brainstorming of ideas, and we really just hit the ground running, trying to make sure that we were designing programs to support those in groups that have been disproportionately affected during COVID and even before. And so that's when we started right away with DEI training for our board, for our staff, and then launching a series of programs to support women, racialized Canadians, and people with disabilities. Accelerate Newmarket has been a tremendous success. The number of startups that have gone through this program in the 2 years have run it so far has been over 300. We set a goal of making sure that we had at least 50% from groups, women, people with disabilities, racialized Canadians. We exceeded that with over 60% that went through that program, but it was important to set that goal at the outset. But that group now has gone on to raise over $30 million in capital from the private sector, and they've gone on to create over 800 jobs. It's a big part of what chambers of commerce need to be doing going forward is around economic development and helping support that startup economy. I think it's important that chambers continue to recognize how vital their role is to support groups that have been marginalized traditionally, and so that's ensuring that you've got an eye to making sure that you're supporting startups from women, racialized Canadians, Indigenous Canadians as well. You need to have that lens, and you need to constantly remind yourself: are we serving those goals? A big part of economic development now has changed with COVID and remote work, and so chambers should be helping spur that startup economy, because gone are the days of luring that big logo to town. It's not necessarily going to happen in the same degree. So if we can create those jobs in companies locally, they'll be hiring others locally as well.
So please welcome Newmarket Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, Chris Emmanuel, accepting on behalf of his team at the Chamber. Thank you, Chris. Our second award recipient in this category is the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce. So please roll their video.
Code did start in October 2021, initiated by the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce. It's a movement that's dedicated to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusions within organizations and in society. It provides tools and resources and pathways for organizations to build DEI capacity within their teams, to connect with diverse talent pools, and to reap the business benefits of doing so. Code's focus was really to create barrier-free access to diversity, equity, and inclusion resources, learning opportunities, and spaces for peer engagement. As of right now, Code's focus is on supporting businesses, no matter the size or sector, in implementing DEI strategies, offering events and training, and facilitating connections to resources and diverse talent pools. Similarly, with Code events, we provide continuous learning opportunities with a really high attendee satisfaction rate. And here too, we assess if people are taking action in their workplaces following an increased learning. And about 94% of Code event attendees indicated that they are likely to apply something they have learned. This is really great. It shows that Code is not only increasing learning, but there's action being taken in these workplaces, which shows that there is a significant movement and shift towards equity, reconciliation, and inclusion in Winnipeg and within businesses in Winnipeg.
So as chambers, we have a responsibility. This is a space that we should be in, but it is our, call to action to always lead. That is the strength of the chamber movement. It's not that we wait to see what government does. We don't wait to see what others do. We lead the conversation and we lead the action. That is so fundamental to why I love the chamber movement. And I think the chamber movement is such a vital part of our national conversation and its future. Our job going forward is to help them understand why you need to take that journey, the human case and the business case. Secondly, to connect them to the resources, to help them understand here is a pathway, here are the steps you can take, especially the first one. Here are people that you can reach out to help steady you as you walk that path. We need to make sure that we take a moment to not celebrate in a self-congratulatory way, but to celebrate that when business gets it right, celebrate it so that others see, that's what I can do. That's where I made a mistake. That's how I can apply that. that is the role of the chamber.
So please join me in welcoming the President and CEO of the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce, Lauren Remillard, to accept on behalf of his team at the Winnipeg Chamber. Lauren. Great, thanks, Lauren. So our third recipient is the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce. So let's watch their video.
So I took a look at the business awards the Chamber was doing, and the pinnacle award was something called the Lifetime Achievement Award. Invariably, the Lifetime Achievement Award would go to somebody who looks like me, somebody who's probably an old male who had built up the economy that surrounds us here. And I wanted that to be something that was a bit more inclusive and innovative. So we dropped that and instead created something called the Award of Distinction. But to still recognize people historically from the Chamber's work, we then created the Greater Victoria Business Hall of Fame, which, like any Hall of Fame, can go back in history and recognize people. So the day that we were going to announce the Hall of Fame, the media release was ready to go. The day before that is when they announced that they had found the grave sites at the Kamloops Residential School. So put a hold on that, went back and thought about it, and realized that we had been a part of that problem. We were, I believe, the first chamber in Canada to acknowledge the fact that we had been implicit in the suppression of Indigenous culture. And for that, we apologized. It also made me take a look at what our actual cohort of Indigenous businesses is rather within the chamber. So of 1,400 members, only 14 were Indigenous owned. So we created something called the Indigenous Reconciliation Table, where I would literally sit at a table with Indigenous businesses, ask them why they had never engaged with the chamber. It wasn't really a match of culture. The thing I heard most often was I didn't feel welcome, and I didn't see anybody who looked like me. At the same time, I looked at the matrix of our entire membership across the board in all categories, and realized that we were not as diverse as we should be. In other words, as the voice of business in Greater Victoria, we didn't really reflect the profile of the culture of the people that live here. So we started to reach out to organizations like the Victoria Chinese Commerce Association and the South Asian Business Association and the Black Business Association, and had the same conversation. Why have you never been involved with the chamber? Didn't feel welcome, didn't see anybody who looked like me. We created a committee called the IDEA Committee, which is Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, Advancement Committee. And that's populated by people who represent all elements of diversity within our community. And we said to them, this is not a committee that we are striking to tell you what to do. You need to tell us what to do. So in that sense, that's another way that we're increasing diversity within our membership. I think it's incumbent upon all chambers to take a look at the demographic of the community they serve, the business community and the actual general population. And does your chamber member profile match that matrix of people? If you don't have that equal representation, then you're not really fully speaking on behalf of all corners of the business community. So whatever DEI work can be done, I would encourage everybody to do so. I've had some contact with other chambers who have said, I'm kind of terrified to do that. I think I might say the wrong thing. My advice to that is just go ahead and try and stand to be corrected, because that's how we learn.
So please join me in welcoming the CEO of the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce, Bruce Williams, to accept on behalf of the team at Chamber. Thank you, Bruce. So I just want to congratulate the three recipients from the Canadian Chamber Network for their awards, and if we can have a round of applause again for all of them. And now I'm going to turn it back to my colleague, Deanna.
Thank you, Ian. To present our last two awards, I would like to welcome my colleague, Kathy Majeri, who is Senior Vice President, General Manager, Quebec at the Canadian Chamber of Commerce.
Merci beaucoup, Diana. Il me fait grand plaisir de présenter les deux derniers prix cet après-midi. Nos prix de la croissance inclusive ont été mis sur pied pour reconnaître les candidatures d'entrepreneurs autochtones et d'autres entrepreneurs sous-représentés au Canada qui sont membres des chambres de commerce au Canada et qui sont propriétaires de leurs entreprises depuis au moins 1 an, appartenant à un groupe méritant l'équité, comme les Autochtones, les femmes, les Noirs, les racialisés, les 2 LGBTQI+, les Nouveaux Canadiens et les entrepreneurs avec un handicap et qui ont fait preuve d'excellence, d'innovation et d'impact social. We have 2 awards to present in this category. Our first award recipient is eSupply Canada. Please show the video.
I saw development happening within our territory. I saw a lack of businesses within my community. And I really saw that we were missing out on really the opportunity to take advantage of development to really drive economic growth. So it was really about identifying the opportunity, right? Seeing what was happening within our industry. And eSupply Canada, what we are, we're a national online distributor of office, janitorial, industrial, print marketing, and technology. This was also an opportunity for businesses to easily participate in economic reconciliation. What easier way than purchasing, diverting a portion of your goods that are already going to big box retailers to a local Indigenous business? I think the thing I'm most proud of is our people, right? Our people are what makes us a great company. Being able to hire a diverse workforce. We're a majority of our staff are women, majority of our staff are diverse, right? We are an Indigenous company, and so we want to provide opportunities to those that maybe haven't had equal opportunity throughout. I think being able to give back to Indigenous communities is incredibly important. We have a give back program where a portion of our customer spend goes into a pool of resources, and we're able to provide scholarships to Indigenous youth pursuing entrepreneurship, business, economics, law, as well as the trades. Yeah, I think this is an incredible accomplishment. To be recognized by our peers, within the Chamber of Commerce is absolutely incredible. Didn't expect this award. I'm sure a lot of great businesses were put forth for this award. So to be recognized by your peers, both locally right up to the national level is something that I think is a testament to, again, the people that work for us and the mission that we have as a company. At the end of the day, it's about supporting Indigenous peoples, giving back, and providing opportunity to those that maybe don't have the amount of opportunity that otherwise they should. So we're proud, we are honored to be here, to be receiving this award, and we're incredibly humbled, miigwech, for this recognition. Get to know our people, get to know our populations, right? We are open for business. We want to partner with industry. We want to do it responsibly though, right? We want to ensure that Indigenous peoples actually benefit, either it's from resource development, joint ventures, whatever that structure might be. Indigenous peoples want to participate. Indigenous peoples want to do business that are based on relationships, that are based on truth, humility, respect, reciprocity. That's what it's about. So understanding those principles. So there's a whole ecosystem out there around good practices that are beginning to happen with Indigenous businesses, partnerships with mainstream companies. And so learning from those, reaching out and making sure that it happens within your organizations is critical to changing the landscape, improving reconciliation, and supporting economic reconciliation.
To accept this award, please welcome Anna Fernandez, Digital Marketing Specialist at eSupply Canada. eSupply Canada is a proud member of the London Chamber of Commerce. Our second award recipient is Quilts for Survivors. Please play the video.
Wache Ani Buju. My name is Vanessa Genier. My spirit name is Summer Sky Woman. I am from the Missinabie Cree First Nation. I am an Indigenous mother and entrepreneur residing in Timmins, Ontario, on the traditional lands of the Mattagami First Nation. I am honored to accept this award in recognition of the work being done for Indigenous survivors through Quilts for Survivors. I accept this award on behalf of my ancestors and relations that survived those horrible traumas and abuse at these schools. I am here today because my great-grandparents, Emily and David, survived. I started Quilts for Survivors as a way to give back after hearing about the unmarked graves in Kamloops, BC. I felt I needed to do something, but wasn't sure how I could help. One day, while standing in my living room, I heard the Creator say, "You quilt, do that." I have been quilting for 30 years, and it is my passion. I took my passion and reached out to other quilters, asking them to help me make blocks that I would turn into quilts. My goal was 18 quilts. We met this goal within 2 weeks of starting. Within 3 months of starting this project, it was clear that we needed to form a nonprofit organization. Quilts for Survivors is a nonprofit organization that is working to bring healing to our nation's survivors who attended residential school, 60 Scoop, day school, and other traumas suffered by our people because they are Indigenous. With the help of hundreds of volunteers around the country and the world, we have given over 3,600 quilts to date, with over 1,700 survivors on the waiting list. The waiting list continues to grow. I am proud and honored to be a part of the healing journey for so many. It brings great joy to be able to share my gifts to help others know they are loved, valued, and not forgotten. We need to be a part of the discussions regarding the land that is called Canada. It is important that businesses support Indigenous entrepreneurs and learn about them and their companies. Only through joint efforts can we bring about reconciliation. We are all treaty people. We need to know the truth of our history and honor the treaties. It is with great humility and respect that I am accepting this award. Thank you to the Canadian Chamber of Commerce and the Timmins Chamber for honoring the work of an Indigenous entrepreneur. I would like to thank my many volunteers, our supporters, my First Nation, our board, my friends, and family. Most of all, I would like to thank my wonderful and amazing children, Catherine, Michael, Kendrick, Wallace, and Jose. Thank you for your love and support. I truly believe that it will take the entire country to heal our nations. Chi miigwech.
Please join us, Vanessa Genier, President and founder of Quilts for Survivors. Quilts for Survivors is a member of the Timmins Chamber of Commerce. And before accepting the award, could you please say a few words about the quilt?
Wache, I'm very honored and humbled to be here. The quilt that's on the table is a memorial to our children who never made it home. There's over 10,000 unmarked graves that have been discovered at various residential schools across Canada. This quilt has 140 orange feathers in recognition of every federally recognized residential school in Canada. But we are still here. The government's attempt at genocide of my people was unsuccessful. And I am here today because the simple fact is my great-grandparents survived. And this is a symbol of that. Around the 140 feathers is white and purple stripes in symbol of a wampum belt. And back centuries ago, the wampum treaties were signed. And it is my personal belief that if the government had honored the wampum treaties, there never would have been residential schools. It's very humbling work that we do. So our quilts are presented to survivors. There's no cost to them or to their families. And we have given, as of Thursday, 3,757 quilts to survivors. Let's never forget the tragedies that happened, and let's always remember the children that never made it home. Chi-miigwech.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Vanessa, for being here with us today. Having launched the Inclusive Growth Awards in May, as Gayla mentioned, we were unsure of how the program would be received. Often, people are too shy to get themselves credit for the great work that they are doing. But as you can see, there are great things being done. And there's so much more that we can be doing. We hope that you have been inspired by our award winners today. These may be initiatives that you wish to know more about. Please feel free to reach out to your colleagues, but also know that in the late fall, we will schedule a virtual event with our winners so you can learn more. Stay tuned. In the meantime, thank you for all the work you are doing across the Canadian Chamber Network. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank RBC once again for its support of today's event, and especially the support of George Wamala throughout the year. I would now like to welcome Elmine Wingert, Vice President, Corporate Services at the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers, to the stage to close out the session with brief greetings from one of our conference sponsors. Elmine, thank you, and CAP for your continued support. The mic is yours. Thanks.
Thank you, Deanna. As the representative of the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers, CAP, I'm really pleased to be part of this event, inspiring event, that recognizes business leaders doing exceptional work to remove barriers and create a workforce that is diverse, equitable, inclusive, and accessible for all. CAP is the trusted voice of the Canadian upstream oil and natural gas industry, working to ensure Canada is the preferred source of safe, secure, reliable, affordable, and responsibly produced energy to meet the growing needs of Canada and the world. One of our areas of focus is on Indigenous engagement. The industry has a long history of developing relationships with Indigenous groups and communities working towards mutual benefits from responsible resource development while mitigating environmental and social impacts. Indigenous communities and the industry both benefits when strong relationships are built on mutual respect and trust. Economic reconciliation is one of the most impactful ways our industry and Indigenous communities benefit. We define economic reconciliation as identifying and finding feasible ways to share economic opportunities arising from resource development while continuing to learn, improve, and grow strong relationships with Indigenous communities, ultimately helping to build a better Canada. The upstream oil and natural gas industry is a leading employer of Indigenous workers. A recent study by Petro LMI indicates that within the energy industry, 7.7% of workers are Indigenous. This compares to only 3.9% for Canadian industries overall. In BC alone, from 2018 to 2021, the energy industry spend with Indigenous-owned businesses grew by 148% to $196 million. In addition, during that same period, BC's upstream energy industry invested $13.6 million to support more than 75 Indigenous affiliated community initiatives and organizations. The industry continues to work toward inclusive and diversity, led by Indigenous engagement and shared benefits. I want to take a moment to thank you for attending this motivational event today. A key takeaway for me is that we all have a role to play. And a huge congratulations to all the recipients today. You are leading the way and have demonstrated what is possible. Now it's our job to follow in your footsteps. Thank you and congratulations.